Good evening. You are locked into another episode of the Red Sea podcast, Transfer Tuesday. We have got a few little bits to discuss here on the Transfer Tuesday podcast with us at the Red Sea podcast. News broke on Sunday in regards to Saul Niguez and a potential transfer to either Liverpool or Manchester United. Today in the papers, Liverpool have been linked with a prospective move for Jonathan David. Also, various wildcards such as Vlahovic, Lautaro Martinez, Ryan Gravenberch and Yuri Telemans. Potential outgoings from Liverpool Football Club of Shaqiri and Origi. We're here with Transfer Tuesday. I'm Thiago's father. We've got various different guests with us today as well. But without further ado, let's click into the studio and see what these guys have got to say for themselves. Hello, gentlemen. How are we?
Hello, mate. I'm all right. How are you?
I'm not too bad. So today I am joined by Ben Kelly from Redmen TV. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, Ben. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Good. It's a pleasure to have you. Ben was supposed to be with us last week, but unfortunately work commitments. Obviously, this podcast life isn't for all of us. We're not all here at the dizzy heights of some of the big hitters. We're still working full-time jobs, but we still come on here to discuss content solely because we love it. And I'm joined again by the one and only Scousers in London. Oh, talk to me, bro. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well. I'm excited to be on the show again. Thank you for having me and excited to, learn a little bit more from Ben as well.
No, we
That's
appreciate
pressure.
you coming on. Yeah. We were discussing off air. You guys are the pinnacle. Of course it's pressure. It should be pressure. So guys, if you're here and you're watching, please like and smash, subscribe, hit the comments as well. Make sure that you guys are in the comments and smashing the comments for us as well. It'll be much appreciated also. But without further ado, let's dive straight in. We've got a few little bits to discuss today because there's a few bits going on where Liverpool are concerned. As I mentioned on the intro, the big news breaking on Sunday was from the Football Terrace. One of our good pals over there, Terry, who runs the Football Terrace, broke the news early on. And you may have seen me actually on the terrace in my dressing gown, invited on by Terry. So it was a pleasure to be on there as well. But it's been reported by Terry that on Sunday, the 1st of August, that Manchester United and Liverpool are set to go head-to-head for Saul Niguez. I mean, I'm going to come to Ben first on this as well, because it's your first time on the show. No pressure, mate. What do you think in regards to Saul Niguez? Is he the type of player that you'd like to see at Liverpool? Is he the type of player which you think can suit sort of the mould that Jurgen Klopp's trying to put through and what we're trying to do here?
I think potentially, yes. I like how hard-working he is. Obviously, he's not necessarily a player that's going to get you loads of goals, although I think he has been among the goals right recently, over the course of last season. But I think the main thing with Saul is his injury record and how much he plays, because obviously something that we have to really consider at the moment is that we absolutely need a central midfielder, because you can't just lose the amount of games that Gini Wijnaldum gives you and not replace any of them. And somebody was making the point on Twitter that, Wijnaldum last season wouldn't have played that many games if, Keita had been fit for a while, or Chamberlain had, or if we hadn't lost Henderson for so long, or if Fabinho hadn't been playing centre-back for periods and all that. And while I kind of buy into that, the point is that Wijnaldum could play those games. So therefore, you need, when called upon, he could do it. So you need somebody who can play for those long spells and can cover like Wijnaldum could. You've lost him for free. So you need to get somebody in, whether or not you have to spend the big money or what. It should be a priority for me to get somebody in who, if we find ourselves in a situation this season, as we did last season, there is somebody there who can step up and play you those minutes and can be relied on. And right now, I'm not sure we have that in centre midfield. I love Jordan Henderson to bits, but he doesn't give you the minutes. He's brilliant when he plays. He's a world-class centre midfielder when he plays, but he doesn't give you the minutes week in, week out. You can't go 2 months thinking that every week you're going to bank on him being there. And Saul, I think he's missed like 10 games in 3 years through injury. It's insane, his record. So that's the type of player you want to sign. I think that might be an important signing for Liverpool.
I totally agree with you. I mean, from a perspective of availability, we always talk about it on the Red Sea podcast, is availability is the best ability. I mean, I'm going to come to you next. I mean, what's your thoughts on Saul Niguez and where he could potentially fit in to Liverpool?
Yeah, no, I think he's. I agree with both of you. He's a good signing. I think he adds a little bit more quality as well. I think, like you guys said, availability is one of the biggest things. Ginny played practically every game. He's reliable. He does a big role for us in terms of defending, carrying the ball forward. You know, he plays that box to box type of role that is very, very integral to how we play. So, and he's Mr. Reliable, if I'm honest. So it's one of those things where we need to bring in somebody who can do that job. But it would be nice because one thing about Gini that I've always said is like for Holland, he's a whole different type of player. For Liverpool, he's asked to do a different job. So I would like to see somebody who plays in that position who can then, when they go forward, they're not always looking to the left or right. You know, just that little bit more. I mean, you don't want to buy the same. You want to buy something. You want to improve. I'm not saying go out there and spend 100 million on somebody, but I think he would be a good signing. I think he'd be a top signing. The style of play, the way he likes to pick up the ball deep and run and the way he can pass, he can score goals. So yeah, why not? We clearly don't have the squad for it.
I totally agree with you. And I mean, and the news broke on Sunday, as I said, from the Football Terrace, that Manchester United were potentially looking to creep in there and beat us to the South signing. Now, one thing where we potentially won't be able to compete is on the wages. And it's always been a stumbling block. And in recent times, obviously, during the window, it's something that's been muted. That is a stumbling block for Liverpool Football Club in regards to the wages. We know United will be able to blow us out of the water in regards to that. But it has been said that the players' potential preferred destination is Liverpool Football Club to work under Jurgen Klopp. Ben, I'm going to throw this one back to you as well. Is he the type of player which you would break the bank for? And do we beat Manchester United to this signing?
I think that, yeah, they're two very different questions. I think we can beat Man United to this signing, but it depends what happens with Paul Pogba there. I think if he moves on, and there's a good chance that he can move on this summer by the looks of it, otherwise they're going to risk losing him for free, and it'd be unforgivable for them to lose him for free twice. So they've got to save face and get some money for him, right? So they can move him on. I'm hearing we did a podcast yesterday. We had a Man United fan on, and he was saying that PSG are being linked for around 50 million. So they could go and throw that money at Saul. I'm not saying he's a similar player to Pogba, but they're crying out for a defensive midfielder anyway. Like that, I like Scott McTominay, but like Fred, I think he's had his chance. I think they'd quite happily try and replace him. And Saul could be a player who could come in and do that. But I do think that Liverpool overall right now are still a more attractive proposition than Man United because of the manager. And as long as we have Jurgen Klopp, if I was a player, I'd still rather play under Jurgen Klopp than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is actually doing an all right job. There's a lot of pressure on him now, though, to deliver. In terms of should it be a player that Liverpool break the bank for, that's the $1 million question. For me, there are other players that I'd rather have. I'm a massive fan of Youri Tielemans. So I'd rather go out and spend the money on him, but he's going to cost you more. I think he's the answer. I think he's brilliant. So he's the one I go and break the bank for. But as an alternative, if you think about like the work that Saul will have done however long he's been at Atletico under Diego Simeone, he's such a dogged midfielder. He put in the dirty work, put in the hard yards for you because he's been trained that way. It's been drilled into him for years and years and years. So that's why I think that he would be a good player because obviously you'd see him more often than not playing that hole that Gino Wijnaldum's left, but he can play the defensive midfielder role probably better than any of the other midfielders that we've currently got in the squad. Jordan Henderson's very good at it. But if Fabinho ever did have to go centre back, or if he did ever have another injury that kept him out for a spell, and you had Saul to slot in there, I'd feel a lot better about that, to be honest. So he is a versatile player in the middle of midfield that probably would be worth the money.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Ben. And I'm just going to get some of these comments as well. We've got Chris Welch, one of our major contributors to the channel as well. Welcome back, Chris. It's good to see you as well. Evening, lads. Evening to you, Chris. It's always good to have you on here as well. We've got a few comments in here as well. Big shout out to Delwyn Jones. Welcome back again. Big up, everyone. Big up to you, Delwyn Jones. It's a pleasure to have you back on as well. Chris Welch smashing the comments again. Big up to you, my man. United will get sold if Pogba leaves. To be fair, Pogba is the blocker in that deal. Hopefully he stays at United and we obviously get a clear run at Seoul. That'll be absolutely fantastic. I'm praying, I'm hoping, because he is a player that I think that we need in that respect as well. Another big shout out to Dave's at LFC Chats. How you doing, pal? It's good to see you on here supporting as well. It's good to see you back. I caught some of your pod earlier on as well. Guys, if you're in the comments as well, head over and give Dave LFC Chats a follow as well. Another major contributor to the channel. Dave's been on a pod with us recently and he's got a lot of energy. Really, really, really good guy as well. I said shout out to the lads and shout out to Ben as well. Big Red Sea podcast shout out to our very own SS, the Southern Scouser. Welcome, mate. It's good to see you in the comments as well, pal. Hope you're feeling a little bit better because I know you're under the weather. Don't worry, Thiago's father's holding down the fort for you, pal. Don't worry, I've got it all locked off in here as well. Delwyn Jones as well. Shout out, evening, mate. How you doing as well? So just to jog it on with you, I mean, let's say that Paul Pogba does leave Manchester United. Can Sol really fill that gap for them? Is he that kind of player that could do that kind of role for Manchester United? We know Paul Pogba brings that X factor. And look, I'm not going to sit here as a Liverpool fan and go, he's rubbish, because he's not. He's a top draw player. You don't win World Cups. You don't win Scudettos with Juve if you're not a decent player. We look at the caliber of Paul Pogba, and he is phenomenal on his day. Can Saul Niguez actually go into a Manchester United and fill those boots, or would it be far more comfortable in a Liverpool shirt?
Paul Pogba is hard boots to fill. If I'm honest, any top team would take him. He's a phenomenal player. He is top quality. Yes, it's hit and miss at Man United, but whenever he puts a France shirt on, he is hands down one of the best players you ever see play. He is an amazing player. He is hard to replace. I think Saul would be. He is a good player. You can put him up there, but I think it would be hard for him to do Pogba's role. I think, like Ben said, they're screaming for a CDM, and that's why they would probably move on. But I wouldn't sign Saul to play as a CDM, so I don't see the reason for him to go to United. I think the style of play as well best suits Liverpool. I'm not trying to be biased. I just think I think it's a better option. Like Ben said, like you said, it's more the style of football is one thing. The manager, the excitement, what Liverpool brings you. I just think without being biased, I just think that Saul Niguez suits Liverpool's style of play. It'll be hard to replace Pogba though. Pogba I'm repeating myself. Pogba is a great player. The way he could win you a game single-handedly. He's that type of player. And when he's feeling right and he's got the love of his teammates and his manager, he is top quality. But I don't think Saul Niguez is the replacement for him, and I don't think that's what they're screaming for right now.
Oh, I totally agree with you. You make some really, really interesting points here as well. Chris Welch in the comments again as well. Liverpool are more likely to get Saul Niguez than Manchester United. Manchester United need Pogba to leave if they are to get Saul. Yeah, United can afford him. But both play in the same position. Ain't going to work with both. Do you know what, Chris? I agree with you. You're right. It probably wouldn't work with both, but this is Manchester United. They've signed a certain Donny van de Beek and allowed him to hug the bench. They've signed an Alex Tellez as well and allowed him to hug the bench. You've got Martial there who's hugging bench. I know he got injured in March, but realistically, United have got the luxury in terms of their wage bill to go out and buy, to a degree, whoever they want and say, here you go, mate, hug that bench until when we need you. So I don't really buy into that. Could United actually make this signing just to spite us? I mean, we'll find out as the window rolls on. Another player that's been linked with us, though, recently and as recent as today. Now, this one came as a bit of a shock. Jonathan David from Lille. Now, the Echo are reporting that Liverpool have Jonathan David on a short list of potential signings should Divock Origi depart the club before the close of the window. Now, I have to say, I know a little bit about Jonathan David, but I've not really studied him in a sense that I'm thinking Liverpool are going to make this big signing. We know that Liverpool have a knack for going out and buying the next best thing. So the one that's going to mature into being a top draw player. But are we at risk here of having another Divock Origi on our hands with Jonathan David? Because they came essentially from the same place. So is it going to be the same sort of signing? I mean, Ben, I'll come to you on this one.
I must admit, I don't know much about him either. I know he's young. I know, obviously, I'm just trying to have a little read up about him now. He arrived at Lille only last year, so he's only had a season there, but obviously he's won the league with them. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't watch a lot of French football. I don't know how influential he's been, but he's obviously, you know, caught the eye of quite a few players, quite a few teams rather, over the course of this season with how well Lille have done. Obviously, Liverpool have, like, it's kind of gone a bit quiet, but obviously Liverpool have also been linked with Renato Sanchez at Lille. So there's a couple of players who've obviously been quite influential for them this season, and obviously Sanchez had a good Euros as well before Portugal were knocked out. But for David, I think, you know, obviously he can play as a second striker, he can play as a number 9, he can play as an attacking midfielder. Again, it's versatility. So maybe Klopp's looking at him. You know, he's not super tall. He's 5'9". So he maybe is looking at him as a potential false 9. You know, as I say, he's only 20 years old. So there's plenty of time to mold him into whatever you want him to be. You know, he's gone away. The question is, can he do it in a better league? You know, I'm not. Again, I don't massively follow the French league, but I know it's not brilliant. Obviously, Lille winning it was a shock for everybody because PSG normally do that. So for me, it's about if you can sign him. I don't know how much he's been linked with us for, but if you can get him for 30-35 million, you know, when you can get him in and he's a good young player and he's willing to adapt, he's willing to listen, he's willing to get him, and you're willing to be able to create a player out of him over the next, you know, 3-4 seasons. You know, we have to be looking at a Roberto Firmino placement for me at this point. You know, not necessarily for right now, but for somebody who can fill those shoes over the next couple of years. I'm pretty convinced that Roberto Firmino is not done. Like, he's 29 years old. There must be more to him, that we must be able to get some out of him. You know, he's not had a great season, but hopefully, you know, he's a player who kind of feeds off crowd and stuff, isn't he? So hopefully, as fans get back into ground, he refines a bit of form. But you can't run from the fact that he is getting older. So if you sign somebody like Jonathan David, maybe he's the answer. Maybe he's somebody who can come in right now, learn from him, learn from Klopp, and then over the next 3-4 seasons become the main man. Who knows?
Well, interesting enough for Jonathan David, he's actually both-footed as well, can play anywhere across that front three, but mainly operates as the number 9. Lille signed him from Ghent as well, so he's only been there a season. He's contracted to Lille until 2025. So is it the kind of player that Liverpool could prize away from Lille for £30 million when he's contracted until 2025? We probably haven't seen the best of him. And like you said, Ben, is Klopp looking at him as a potential player they can start to mould the team around, a player that can actually grow in this Liverpool team? I mean, do you know much about Jonathan David? Because I have to say, this link from the Echo came out of the blue. You know, I wasn't sit here thinking to myself, scowling through, going, oh, this jumps out at me, because we obviously want a player or a signing that's a pretty sexy. Now, this doesn't seem like a sexy kind of signing. You know, that signing which you sit and you go into the window thinking, I can't wait for this player to join the club. What's your thoughts?
I think I think for him, I think he's better off, and I'll say pretty much the same thing about another player in a minute that I know we're going to talk about. I think for Liverpool, for all parties involved, it would be better for him to stay at Lille right now. I mean, 13 goals in 37 league appearances is fine, and it's good for a 20-year-old. But like, really, at the moment, is he gonna develop as quickly at Liverpool as he might do at Lille? Those offers, if he has another good season, these offers from these big clubs that might be on the table, will still be there next summer. So for him right now, he's only spent a season here. It's, you know, for the first time he's playing in one of Europe's big 5 leagues. He's had a good season, but you could sign him for 40 million, and he might be a bit crap. You know, it might have been a 1-season thing. I'm not saying that's going to be the way at all, but it's something that Liverpool have to consider, that if they're going to spend 40 million pounds or however much on a player, if they're willing to buy him out of that contract, they've got to be sure. And if they do, then I'll back them.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I'll give you the final say on this Jonathan David link. Like I said, it came out of the blue for me. I was scouring through the Echo and it was like, oh, what's this? But a player like Divock Origi, we signed him from Lille. We left him there on loan for a whole season. He's a player that's played in moments for us, but he's hardly pulled up trees. We're going to remember Divock for the moments that he's had at Liverpool Football Club rather than a prolific goal-scoring record. Are we in danger of going out and repeating history again with a Jonathan David signing?
I think so. For me, he's got Origi written all over it. I agree with you guys. I agree with Ben that his best thing of his career would be to stay at his current club and build on that. But it also makes me think about players that have had a little bit longer and had kind of show a little bit of style. For example, like Daka, who I saw him the other day playing for Leicester, and his goal, he seems like he's someone who I've watched and I thought he's okay. He didn't go for that much money. He's a good player. He would have been someone I would have gambled on. And is it Mullen, the one, the PSV one that went to Dortmund?
Marlon, yeah.
I think
Marlon.
them two. Yeah, them two, Marlon. Yeah, those two signings. If we were going to take a chance on them, I would say, okay, do you know what? I'll take that chance. Jonathan David, I'm not. He gives me Origi vibes, if I'm honest. And I feel like I've seen Daka play. I like Daka. Yes, regardless how much goals or how many seasons he's played, he gives me more of a excitement. He gets it. Watching I was excited to see him play for Leicester because I knew he had some talent. The other one went to Dortmund. Again, when I watched him and then you watched him again in the Euros, you was like, oh, okay, he's a decent player. I would understand if we linked to these players. But yeah, Jonathan David, he doesn't give me any. He didn't give me vibe. He doesn't give me the sexy signing. He gives me I just feel like, is it a one-off? Is it Origi again? We're gonna then in a few years have him to try and recoup our money back before we buy a replacement. I've seen him play a few times and he don't give me like, excitement.
I hear you.
He's not signing for me. He's not signing for me.
Nah, I hear you. Guys in the comments, really, really appreciate your input on this. Please, please, please drop a comment in and now. Do Liverpool sign Jonathan Davies? Is it the type of signing that you want to see at Liverpool Football Club? Smash that comments with a yes or a no. Hit that like button whilst you're in there as well. And if you haven't already, head over to the Red Sea Podcast on YouTube and subscribe. If you're not following us on Twitter, hit that up as well. The Red Sea Podcast on Twitter. And it's the Red Sea Podcast on Instagram too. And guys, whilst you're at it, head over and like our Australian counterparts as well. We've just launched the Red Sea Podcast Down Under, so we now have Australian representation too. So if you head over to all those, give them a like, give them a subscribe. It's much appreciated. KT, pleasure to see you, mate, as well. Evening, guys. How you doing, KT? It's good to see you in the comments as well, my man. Always welcome to come back. Our very own Southern Scouser makes a very, very good point. Jonathan Davies, 13 goals in 37 games. Not what we need. I have to agree with you, SS. He's not what we need right now. But is he potentially someone there that you could mold into what you want as a future player? We have discussed on the pod many, many times that Liverpool are pointing towards Liverpool 2.0. We need to start looking at the future of Liverpool Football Club. Ben makes a very, very good point in saying that we could potentially get another season out of Bobby Firmino. But SS strikes back with the comments as well. Needs some serious competition for Bobby. Not an obvious backup. SS, very, very true. We've always spoken about that front three and how they're unchallenged and unrivaled in their positions at the moment, very much until Jota came in. Origi's not providing any competition for those guys. Shaqiri's not providing any competition for those guys. So they were very settled in their positions. Jota came in and they've looked a little bit less settled in that respect because Jota's come in and done phenomenally well. So I want to go to one last comment here as well from Delwyn Jones. Big up yourself, Delwyn, as well. Thank you for smashing the comments. Jonathan David is a very excited, talented young player, but not the finished product. I reckon he'll be better than our current backups. He will be suited to our style of play, and he is definitely challenging Bobby. Big statement, Delwyn Jones, to say that he could potentially come in and challenge Bobby Firmino. We've got a few in here as well. Guys, smash those comments as well. Let us know what you think to Jonathan David signing as well. Just before we come off potential incomings, I want to discuss this mystery player. So it was reported in various different media outlets that Liverpool Football Club have an agreement in place for a foreign player. But we cannot complete the signing because we currently have too many foreign players on the books, and we will not be able to have the correct amount for the homegrown quota. Guys, what's your thoughts on this? I'm going to come to Ben on this first. Who do you think this mystery player is? And could this be true that Liverpool have already got an agreement in place, but we're just waiting to pull the trigger until we can sort this homegrown issue out?
Potentially. What confuses me about this is that there aren't really any more homegrown players supposedly on the way out. Is a homegrown player an English player or is he a British player? Because the reason I ask is, does Harry Wilson count? Does Nico Williams count as a homegrown player? Somebody in the comments might be able to tell me, because we're not really on the verge of selling any English players. You know, if you think about the fact that I imagine Oxlade-Chamberlain's going to stay. James Milner is going to stay for another year. I can't see a world where we sell either of those. So unless it's going to count the completion of Harry Wilson to Fulham, or I know Nico Williams wants to go. So we're looking to sell Nico Williams. That's the thing. So whether or not we're waiting to sell him and he's going to count as a homegrown player, but again, I'm not too sure. So that's the only bit that's confusing me. The mystery player could be fucking anyone, couldn't it? You know what I mean? Like, just these kind of reports are like, you know, it smells of somebody trying to drum up attention because they have no solid links to anything. They've got no real sources, but they like to get people excited. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if it's somebody like Saul, because, you know, it seems like a transfer that could happen. It seems like a player that Klopp likes. So that would be an interesting one. But, you know, there's other wild cards out there as well that it could potentially be. It'd be interesting, won't it?
Well, just on the homegrown player, I've just had a quick little look. The homegrown ruling is as follows. A homegrown player, as defined by the Premier League, is a player who at or is 21 or older on January the 1st of the year in which that season begins, spent 3 years between the ages of 16 and 21 at a team in the English Football League system. So realistically, a lot of these foreign imports, so to speak, that we're bringing in at such a young age could actually count as a homegrown player in terms of quota. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a surname like Smith to be a homegrown player. It's something a little bit more frequent than that in terms of the homegrown ruling, which is a really, really interesting one. You've seen a lot of teams get tied up in this homegrown ruling, and it's difficult. Hence why we're probably being linked to the likes of Gerard Bowen. And I'll come to you on this one as well. We discussed it on the pod before. It's just not sexy, is it? It's just like Gerard Bowen. It's just not sexy. So what's your thoughts, man? What's your thoughts?
I mean, just going to mystery player, I agree with Ben. I think I've read so much links, so much wild statements. Oh, Liverpool bid 100 million for this player and everything. It's so wild that I think someone's sitting in their house bored on their keyboard, just mystery player, and they've probably done a big cutout as well with a question mark on his face in black. So I ain't really. I do think I got a feeling. I don't know if it's a fan, because I'm a fan and a supporter, that I feel like they will make a signing. I do think we'll get somebody in. I've been saying this all season, all transfer window, but they are taking their time, if I'm honest. So it's getting to me, but I do still think that. I just don't know if it's a head over heart situation. But the people, like, for me, I get how FSG work. I get it, and I know I was someone who said about I was one of the guys on the last podcast I was with you guys saying, they're always looking for the closest thing to the penny, or they're trying to make big profits. And sometimes back in the day it was very, they did a couple of years of service, we count that as a loss of money, we sell someone for less money. But to be Liverpool Football Club, and I get Klopp makes players, he doesn't buy stars and whatnot. But come on, man! I want to see us at least. We're not even in conversations with any players, or any like sexy smooth players, or we're not. It's not exciting. There's no links.
Not that we know of.
Links. It's just
not that we know of. But we didn't know we were in conversation for Jota last year. We didn't know that all happened in 24 hours. We didn't know that we were in conversation with Fabinho. Liverpool. I'm not saying that you're right or wrong, but I just think Liverpool just seem to operate in a way that, like, we this could be outdated by tomorrow. We could just have somebody tomorrow. Like that's sometimes how we operate. I'm not saying that that's what we're doing, but like I think Liverpool, for me, it has changed entirely, and it still is the same way ever since the first attempt at signing Van Dijk collapsed. because
I
that
agree.
was so public. And then Van Dijk was done like that. Fabinho was done like that. Keita was done pretty much like that. And then we loaned him back for a year. Like it all comes out of the blue. And Jota was the latest example of like that. You know, Thiago rumbled on a little bit. We kind of knew that was coming. And then suddenly Jota, all right, okay. So I just think they like to keep things watertight. And I think every year, and it's not a criticism because I get that it can be frustrating, but every year now, people seem to get frustrated by the fact that we're seemingly not signing because, you know, City are constantly being linked with Kane and Grealish, and Chelsea are being linked with Haaland, and it's all very out in the open for them clubs. But there could be something this is why this mystery player thing could make sense, because there could be an agreement in place that we've got no idea, and it could be a name that hasn't even been mentioned yet. We just don't know.
Ben, I totally agree with you.
So.
I mean,
I hope you're right.
Yeah, Ben, I totally agree with you. The Van Dijk thing, like you said, was very, very public, and it kind of left egg on the face of the club. And I reckon that Michael Edwards is probably sat there in his office with his cat on his lap, stroking his cat with his finger here, going, I wonder what they're all thinking. I'm going to plan my next move of world domination, because Michael Edwards is a superstar. He is an absolute superstar 100%. With how he does his transfer dealings. I mean, there was a section in a local and well-known newspaper, I won't name on here, talking about how we consistently insert buyout or sell-on clauses into our player sales. That's phenomenal. Like, if that player ever moves, and Liverpool will stand to inherit some money from that. We will make some money from that sale, whether it's as little as £1 million, £2 million, 20 million, whatever it may be. We will get money from player sales. Surely that's a genius, a masterclass. There's some guys in the comments here putting up about the homegrown rule. Thank you, guys. Really, really appreciate your input on this, because the homegrown rule is confusing. Unless you know what the homegrown rule is, then it's an absolute minefield. To be fair, we got KT here in the comments as well. KT knows something that we don't know. He thinks that it's Newhouse, a player which has been rumbled on about for the whole entire window. But I'm a little bit dubious about it. And again, it's just not sexy. Like, I'd rather have Saul Niguez. I would rather have that. Tried, tested, proven. Can you imagine a midfield with Thiago, Saul Niguez, and Fabinho? Or Saul Niguez, Hendo, and Fabinho? Or Hendo, Thiago, and Fabinho? That would be incredible. But, you know, Newhouse, where does he fit into that? And if we're going to buy like a Newhouse, then surely we throw a cheeky 40, 50 million on the table for Bayern Munich for a certain Leon Goretzka who's in the last year of his contract. Are we going to give teams a free run at him, who was a player which we wanted many, many years ago, but we just couldn't get it over the line? And he ultimately ended up leaving Schalke and going to Bayern in that move. I mean, and this brings us nicely onto our section of wildcard players in terms of incomings. Ben nicely touched on Yuri Telemann, so we won't spend too much time on him as well, because he's a player which we all know we love and that we're interested in. But a player like Vlahovic, I know that my co-host SS is a big, big, big admirer. Look at him already in the comments there. Look at him. He couldn't wait for this part. He couldn't wait. Oh, I'm going to come to you. Did he bag 7 in a friendly the other week?
Did he?
Yeah,
Crazy.
he smashed.
Mate,
crazy.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So, you know what I was talking about before about I was talking about Jonathan David and how he should stay at Lille. Yeah. I think the same about Vlahovic and Fiorentina. I think he's really good. He's a really top player, and he will be a top striker. But Fiorentina, and what was interesting, what was so impressive about him last season was that the Fiorentina had such a bad season. Like they were so close to being relegated, and they were very they kind of escaped really late on, and yet he got over 20 goals, and he was level with Lukaku, and you know, he was one of the top scorers in the league, and that's like so impressive given Fiorentina's position in Serie A. And Fiorentina, they will build. They have got that. I think they've also already signed a couple. They should have a much better season next season. They should be finishing around mid-table, really. So if the team can improve and he can get himself, keep himself in the same vein of form, I think it would really benefit him to to have another season at Fiorentina, because again, like Jonathan David, all those offers has been linked with Real Madrid, he's been linked with Liverpool, he's been linked with Man United. Next season, Man United are going to lose Cavani. Next season, Karim Benzema is going to be, and Karim Benzema and Roberto Firmino are going to be another year older. Those offers will definitely still be there for him if he has another season like the last one. And I just think that for him to be 21 years old, he's got a poacher's instinct. You know, he sniffs out so many chances in the box that other strikers just don't anticipate. And for him to be doing that in a relatively a relatively poor Fiorentina team, you know, it does excite you to think what he could be doing with much better players around him. And I do think he'll get there. But I think for him, and I think for Liverpool, and I think for the other clubs, it would be a good idea to maybe just keep an eye on him for another season. Having said that, the competition, if he does have another good season this season, the competition next summer will be so much more fierce. So do you take the gamble on him now?
Exactly
that is the question.
That's exactly what I thought. I thought the gamble would be crazy.
Exactly. And do you know what? One thing which I always talk about, and SS is very critical of me for saying, but I think he's starting to come around to my way of thinking, risk-free transfers. Liverpool over the last couple of years have specialised in risk-free transfers. So we look at Shaqiri, signed him from a relegated Stoke for a minimal fee, really. It's not a lot of money where a player of Shaqiri's calibre is concerned. Shaqiri's won titles with Bayern, Champions League with us, Premier League title with us. He's won titles at Inter Milan. Wherever Shaqiri goes, he picks up a trophy before he leaves. So that was a risk-free transfer, and we'll probably get back most of that fee if and when he looks to depart the club. You then look at the signing of Andy Robertson prior to that, again, for a nominal fee. If it didn't work out, that's a risk-free transfer. Tsimikas, nominal fee. If it doesn't work out, risk-free transfer. Same as Minamino, nominal fee. If it doesn't work out, then it's risk-free. We're probably going to get most of that back. So when you look at a player like Vlahovic, if you can get him on the cheap, for argument's sake, before all the wolves and come sniffing around trying to get their bit of taste of the meat and try and drive the price up, because Fiorentina will want that. They'll want to hold on, knowing at some stage he's going to leave the club. Yeah, they'll want to try and cash in when his value's at the highest. Yeah. If we go in with an offer which they cannot refuse at the moment, and he takes maybe 1 or 2 seasons to get rolling, Bobby Firmino signed the phases out, and then he's the next big thing. People are going to be saying, what a masterstroke for Michael Edwards, rather than if we miss out on it now, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a problem. I mean, Dave's in the chat as well. Risk and reward. I totally agree with you, Dave. I mean, just give me your final thoughts on Vlahovic. 7 goals in a friendly. That is phenomenal. I don't care who you're playing. 7 goals is sensational. Would you like to see him in the red of Liverpool?
Yeah, I would. I agree with you with the risk-free. I think when you look at players and you think about natural ability, and not even just them as a player, them as their mental as well, like strikers, you know, like he's got like a very poacher-esque like mentality. He knows what he's doing. He's always looking to hit on goal. He puts himself in position. You know, like he's already in the position to put himself to get a goal or to be free before he's even thought about scoring. So I think that's a risk-free. I would take a chance on him. And you think about all the people who've been linked towards as well. To me, he's the strongest candidate out of it. Even if he does come in, he does wonders. Firmino's not done yet. Firmino might give Firmino the kick up the rear end he needs, because Firmino, it's not like he doesn't know how to score. You know, he scored in all the big games last season. He knows what he's doing. He link up play is still amazing, but maybe put him a bit deeper. Maybe we just rotate him a little bit as he's getting older. But it gives you that type of option. But I do like him. I think he's an amazing player, and friendly or friendly not, he's got a knack for goals. And like you said, he was in a team that was fighting relegation. He still bagged himself 20 goals, and that's harder. Coming to, you're going to get a lot more opportunities. That's a given.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Guys, in the comments, smash the comments as well. Throw up a couple of your risk-free transfers, a couple of your wildcard transfers as well. KT smashing them in there as well. Wildcards, Harvey Barnes, Marcus Llorente, Ollie Watkins, Valverde in there as well. Good selection there from you as well. TS in the comments, also Vlahovic and Martinez. A great mention from you as well. Dave's LFC chats as well. Barry Hunter and a fellows are good too. God, I don't know about that. We've also got Dylan as well in the comments as well. Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes is a player which has done quite well in terms of a couple of breakout seasons which he's had, but unfortunately that ended in injury and probably would have been on a plane with England as well. You're going to be hard pushed to try and prize him out of Leicester. So for me, I don't think that we have a chance with that as well. Dave seconds that as well with Harvey Barnes also. There's a couple of shouts in here for Harvey Barnes, but a player which I want to talk about,
Harvey Barnes as well.
Yeah, no, he's a good player. I think he works hard, doesn't he, as well? And if I had a choice of Jawad Bowen and Harvey Barnes, I'm taking Harvey Barnes because they're very, very similar type players, aren't they, in what they're going to do for you as a club. But a player we're going to move on to just now is Martinez. It's been reported in various different media outlets that Arsenal are odds on to actually sign Martinez, and apparently the deal for Arsenal is there if they want it. According to a certain football terrorist and Terry over there as well. Is this a kind of player which we should be sniffing around as well? Very much in that kind of Suarez kind of mold, isn't he? I know SS is a big admirer of Lautaro Martinez. He's been screaming for this player for probably the best part of a season. Oh, this one's at you, my man. What's your thoughts? Do you think Lautaro Martinez has what it takes to potentially be a Liverpool player? Bearing in mind, guys, this is only a wild card. What's your thoughts?
Yes, and yes. No, honestly, I like him as a player, and I think they'll code like 30 million or something. They don't want to get rid of. If they had to lose the two, they'd rather lose him than Lukaku. I think if Arsenal's trying to sign him, why can't we hijack him? He falls into the, for me, like, risk. It's not a big risk. I think he was like 30 mil. We've obviously been selling players. We could recoup it. We could maybe structure a deal where it works out for both parties. He is a good player. He knows how to score goals. He's a body that, he likes to link up play. He does score goals. He's a good player. For me, when I heard Arsenal's linked to him, the first thing I did was I got into my Scouts London group and I was like, guys, how's Arsenal connected to this guy? And we've not even inquired. Like, I don't know, obviously, that you never know what happens. He might be the signing, the mystery signing. But for me, I would take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. TS banging up the comments as well, mate. Thank you for your contribution, TS. Love it. Exactly. He agrees with you, Oh. Plus, we can offer Champions League football, something which Arsenal haven't been able to offer for a very, very long period of time. Ben, what's your thoughts on this? You've watched this guy. Surely you've watched this guy.
Yeah, look, he's a world-class centre-forward and he's coming off the back of two very good seasons. When you compare him to the other targets that we've mentioned in Vlahovic and David, or the other two options, you could argue very much that he's a season beyond them because he's now had two back-to-back very good seasons. I think this is really hard, though, because I think that Lukaku is going to go to Chelsea and I don't see them selling both. Yes, I'm pretty confident that that is pretty close. They are.
You sound like you've got some inside knowledge there. Spill the beans.
Well,
Spill the beans.
I know they've had two bids for them turned down. Yeah. And I know that they're looking to bid another time. I know that there's been another. Or they've been linked again with him today, and I don't know if there's been another bid or there's one on the verge. And I think that they've given up on Erling Haaland by the sounds of it, and this is their plan B. So I think there are quite a few players I think that Inter Milan would rather sell over Martinez. He's only 23 years old. They've just won the league because of his goals. I think it's incredibly difficult to try and get hold of him this summer because I think Lukaku's going to go. Again, it might be another one for next summer, but I feel like I'm saying that all the time. I just don't see them selling both. So if we want him, we need to get in on it now. We need to get moving on it, because if Chelsea go out and sign Lukaku, Inter are gonna leave themselves either short if they sell both and they can't bring anybody else in, or they're just gonna decide, yeah, fine, we're happy to stay with Martinez for another season, and maybe they bring in another striker in replacement of Lukaku. But I think it's gonna be very difficult to prize both of them away from the club this summer.
So just playing a little bit of 3D chess. If I was Inter Milan, I'd be going, do you know what? Sell Lukaku, keep Martinez, and go and buy Vlahovic. Very, very similar type player. Big striker with presence. That could be something that happens. You know, just a bit of 3D chess there, thinking outside the box there. And guys, don't all go run off and put bets on at the bookies because Thiago's father's told you that that's what's going to happen. I'm taking no responsibility for any loss of money at the bookies. It's just me playing a little bit of 3D chess. SS smash in the comments. Martinez.
That's how it works in the Italian league, doesn't it?
Pardon?
They do that a lot. They will sell their player and go take the next. That's what Inter that do, really, don't they? They just take the next upcoming player from a smaller club.
100%. 100%. Big shout out to Statman Stubbs, one of our sub hosts here over at the Red Sea podcast as well. Evening, guys. Hope you're well. Statman's obviously just finished work, so he's jumped in the car. He's flicked on the Red Sea pod. Good choice, my man. Very, very good choice. So, guys, we're just going to jog it on slightly. And we're going to start to flick over to Liverpool outgoings. And the place I would like to start would be with a certain Xherdan Shaqiri, to be fair. And it's been reported in recent sort of newspaper outlets that Xherdan Shaqiri is kind of angling for a move away from the club. I mean, what's your thoughts on this? Do we think that Xherdan Shaqiri wants to leave the club? Is his time up at Liverpool Football Club?
I read that. Yeah, you know what's funny? I read that first, that he wants to leave, try a new chapter, something different, and I was all for it. I think he's a good player, but is he challenging the front three? No. Is he, we could afford, if we can get most of the money back, I'm fine for him to go. And I think I read a lot that, a lot of our incomings depend on our outgoings, which meant if Origi and Shaqiri goes. Now, for me, I thought that's fine, that's okay. And then I read on him saying, he's happy we have to work harder for next season, and I want to win more things with Liverpool. So I don't know. I'm kind of like back to square one. I don't know if he wants to leave or what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's conflicting reports, isn't it? Because apparently he came out in the local papers or in a national paper saying that he wants to leave the club. And I'll give you a little bit of a brief read from the statement. Shaqiri is quoted as saying, "The important thing at this moment in my career is to be able to play regularly. That hasn't always been the case in the last 3 seasons." Shaqiri goes on to say, like yesterday, when speaking to the Liverpool own publication, the Liverpool website, and he's given an interview on his return back from pre-season to say he's excited for the new season with Liverpool and ready to fight for honours with the club. Now, if that isn't mixed signals, I don't know what is. On the other hand, you're saying that you want to go and play more regular football and that it's time to move on and that you want to go and explore a new challenge. But then as soon as you touch back around your mates, you're thinking, I don't really want to be that open. And now you're saying that you want to fight for new honours and try and win titles with Liverpool Football Club. Ben, I'll give you this one. Is this just spin from the club in a sense to maybe throw a team off the scent and maybe drive his price up? Or is this Shaqiri just being a total weirdo and doesn't know what he wants?
I don't know. I'm to be honest, part of me shocked he's still here. I'm surprised. I thought Lazio were quite heavily linked, and it looked all like they wanted him and he wanted to go, and that would be that. I wonder whether we're just sticking firm with an asking price. I mean, what we're between 10 and 15. And I wonder whether that's a little bit of a sticking point at the moment. Obviously, you said before, we should be able to recoup most of the money that we paid for, and we paid a release clause at the end of the day. I think if Stoke had stayed up that summer, I don't know whether we would have signed him, but I think he would have cost us more. So obviously, £12 million is something that we're probably looking to regain. So we're in a position where we can stick with that. Now, we'd heard, I think he said that Liverpool aren't going to stop me or from moving on or anything like that. So maybe it's just a little bit of the club, not necessarily wanting to stop him, but making sure that they get their fair share of the deal.
Yeah, very, very, very true. It does seem like a game of shadows with this one. It's just a bit concerning that the players having a lot of control over this and kind of maybe forcing the agenda a little bit more. Something which we haven't seen from Liverpool Football Club for a long time, where players have been open in the newspaper about moving on. Not since probably Coutinho that we've seen this kind of open transparency from a player, and a player like Xherdan Shaqiri as well. If he was to leave, would I be really bothered? I think he's a player, again, which will be remembered for moments rather than significant input into the team. You think about the goals against Manchester United. You think about the assist against West Ham. Just moments in general. I mean, you've got a couple of guys in the comments here as well, rating the transfer window based on a couple of players which you've signed as well. Delwyn Jones makes a very, very good point. To be fair, Shaq wants regular game time, so that's why he needs to move on. He doesn't fit perfectly with the way that we play. And this is a good opportunity to come on to you as well. Shaqiri, he doesn't kind of fit into the way that we play, does he? He's not that kind of player. So he's not full throttle, all out, hard blowing, hard rocking football. He's not that kind of player. So is it time for him to move on? Because he just hasn't found his feet in the Liverpool team, is he?
Yeah, I think he should go, if I'm honest. I wouldn't miss him. Like we both said, like Ben said, he's happy. He's surprised he's still there. Like you said, you wouldn't miss him. I wouldn't either. He comes off the bench. Does he change our attack that much when he comes to the bench? Is he rotated as much as he should be to make a difference? No.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you're right. He's just a rotation player, isn't he? He's not someone who comes in and sets the world alight as well. I mean, Statman Stubbs in the comments as well. Appreciate your input, Statman. Shaqiri and Origi have to be moved on. It's whether we want anyone. It's whether we have anyone interested in them both. If one or both go, we have to replace them. We need more quality coming off the bench. Statman, you make a very, very good point. And I think that leads us nicely into Origi. Origi's today been linked with a £20 million move before the end of the window to Wolves. And the club are willing to sell if an asking price is met. I mean, again, he's just a player which has had moments. We can't forget his contribution in the road to win the Champions League. Think about the goal against Barcelona. Phenomenal quick thinking between him and Trent. Boom, goal. You then think about the goal in the final against Spurs as well. So he scored some important goals. I mean, the Everton goal as well that he scored. But he's never really set the world alight. I mean, Ben, what's your thoughts? Is it time for Origi to depart the club, or has he gone a bit stale?
That's such a. I feel like we've been asking this question for years. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of the issue with it. I've seen enough. I like him. He's provided big moments for us, but it all hinges on whether or not you can get somebody in. Whether or not there is a striker incoming. And I know, because part of it, if we see him go, I would be then more convinced that we are going to sign somebody, because I think we need to sell to buy, and we've known that all this time. But also, I just can't see us doing that when we went through the whole centre-back thing last season. I feel like there must be a way. There must be a reason if they're going to sell him. So what I think is going to happen is I think we're going to sell him and we're going to sign somebody personally, because I just think that he's just not making the grade. He's not making the cut. I think he'd be good at a good Premier League side. I think Wolves would suit him. I think Newcastle would suit him. Because I think Wolves in particular, I think that with the style of play and this manager that's come in, we had a Wolves fan on our podcast last week. It's a very, very different style of play to Nuno. It's a lot more exciting. It's a lot more free-flowing football, apparently. And even though they've got good players, like obviously Raul Jimenez is coming back from injury, and they've got young players like Pedro Neto, they've got Pedence, they've got what's the other fella, the young player? Is it Silva? Forgotten his name. The guy with long hair. They've got some good forward options, but Origi's got a lot of Premier League experience. He's got European experience. I think he'd be a good signing for them. And if we can get 15 to 20, I'm not sure we'll get the whole 20 for him, although I wouldn't put it past Michael Edwards. If you can get somewhere in the 15 to 20 ballpark, I think that'd be a good deal for him. And then, hopefully then we'll have enough money in the kitty to go out and sign just somebody better than Origi who can play that second fiddle. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's happy to do it. That's why my unpopular opinion is that while we all laugh at Jared Bowen, I don't think if he was a direct replacement for Origi, I don't think that would be the worst one in the world, to be honest.
Ben, I just can't. Ben, I actually just can't. Like, seriously, I just couldn't sit here as a Liverpool fan with my love for the club and be content with a Jarrod Bowen signing. I get it. I understand the mechanisms about it. And I would accept it because I'm accepting of everything the club does for the greater good. But a part of me would probably die inside. I want to see everybody head over to the Redmen TV and see my co-host SS's reaction when Ross broke the news on Redmen TV that Liverpool were interested in Jarrod Bowen. It was like a part of him died live on the internet because it's just not sexy, is it? But again, I mean, it ticks a lot of boxes though, doesn't it? Because of the homegrown quota. He works phenomenally hard as well. And I suppose Andy Robertson wasn't a sexy signing either. So it would hurt me.
In that West Ham side, he had a very good season.
He did.
He did. And I just think that, again, if he was, if you're looking at somebody like, if we signed, I don't know, if we signed that Ben Rama, right, from West Ham, who was good at Brentford, he didn't have as good of a season as Jared Bowen, but for some, there'd be automatically a little bit more buzz about him, maybe because he's a bit sexier or he's got a little bit more of a silky player. Look at James Milner. He works really hard. He contributes. I just think 13 goals in 38 Premier League appearances isn't exactly what you need. But if you got a similar output as a player who's not going to play 38 games for us, all you need is for him to be better than Origi, and I think there's a good chance he could be.
Okay. But it's funny that we'll give you this one because we're talking about sexy signings. Mateus Pereira from West Bromwich Albion. TS is coming with the heat in the comments as well. Really, really appreciate that. If we let Shaq go and replace him with Mateus Pereira, what's your thought? So Mateus Pereira came out recently, has given an interview that he's had the opportunity to move to a new club. He hasn't named that club, and he's currently in dispute with West Bromwich Albion, but apparently this move will secure his family and his financial future. That's what he's quoted as saying. I wonder who that would be. Just quickly, guys, because we're gonna start closing soon. Is this a player which you'd have at Liverpool, Ben? Yes or no?
Yes. I think I would. Yeah.
Cool. Yes or no for Mateus Pereira?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Do you know what? I'll probably get you back to expand on that because I feel as we head into the close of the window, he's a name that's going to keep popping up because everybody seems to be linked at the moment. When you put transfer link, just put an asterisk next to Liverpool Football Club and insert any player's name here. Seems to be the way that's happening in regards to the window. Just want to touch on a few more outgoings as well. Statman Stubbs in the comments as well. I'll drop Origi off. I'll drop Origi off with a fee of 20 million for him. Yes, he's had moments, but he can't do it on a consistent basis. He'll always have the Barcelona and Tottenham games to look back on. Totally agree with you, Statman Stubbs as well. I totally agree with you. KT smashing the comments as well. So many teams in the league need a striker. Origi is entering his peak. There's no chance he has no suitors. I think that he has a lot of suitors as well, KT. I agree with you. KT coming back as well. Bowen is a baller. Too. He wouldn't be my first choice, but deserves respect regardless. All right, KT. I'll put a bit more respect on his name. Let's give Bowen his flowers. We'll put a bit more respect on his name. Delwyn Jones as well, flying in with the comments. Origi transfer 12 million to Wolves. I've made a bid of 10 million for Origi. I know it's not a great offer, But we must accept the offer to take, to take it off for 2020. Okay, for a fee 2022. I agree. KT's hitting back. Anything north of 9 million for him, we'll take that. So just quickly, a few more wild cards which are being linked with potential departures from the club, and we'll hit this with a straight yes or no. Minamino, yes or no, Ben? Would you keep him or would you sell him?
No, I would keep him for another year.
I agree. I agree with you. Oh, Minamino, what are you thinking?
Keep him.
Keep him. SS isn't going to be happy about that, but SS, I'm running the show today, so yes, I would keep Minamino too. Oxlade-Chamberlain, our new false number 9, apparently. Ooh. Are we keeping him or are we selling him, Ben? Yes or no?
We are keeping Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain 100%.
I totally agree with you. Was one of the first names on the team sheet until he got that injury against Roman. Arguably, Gini Wijnaldum had a breakout season because Oxlade-Chamberlain was injured. So, yeah, I think we should keep him. Oh, what are you thinking? Keep or sell?
Keep him. Give him another
Keep
season.
him. I agree. TS in the comments, keep Ox. Statman Stubbs in the comments, keep Ox. SS, we finally agree on something. Keep Oxlade-Chamberlain. I totally agree with you. Couple more for you guys. The mystery hollow man who's always on the treatment table. Can we guess who I'm talking about, gentlemen?
Naby Keita.
Yes, Naby lad. What are we saying? Keep or sell, Ben? What are we thinking?
Keeping Naby Keita as well. You can see where I'm going with all of these, can't you? Is that not popular here?
Unpopular
Wow.
opinion. No, listen. I'm here for Naby Keita. I like Naby Keita, but my patience is wearing incredibly thin. Oh, keep or sell Naby Keita?
Well, it's funny because me and you had this conversation when we first started talking on Twitter, and
yeah,
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. Like when he's he's a big player. What he does, a lot of our players can't do. But it's just he's always injured, and I will keep saying one more year. But I'm getting to that point. My patience is running thin. But what? Keep him. You can't get rid of him.
But one crucial thing you said is if, and so far that if hasn't turned up yet. He looks sharp in pre-season. Give him his dues. He looks slick. The chop that he did the other day, he sent the defender to the shots. The step over through the legs. It looks very silky. He's looking like the Naby Keita that we signed, but there's always that potential for him to just pull up with a hamstring. And the last one on the list, Naldini, Phillips. What are we saying? Keep or sell, Ben?
I'm keeping him until January at least.
Okay.
I'm saying to him, look, Nat, do us a favour, stay until Jan. We want to see how Joe Gomez and Van Dijk sort of get themselves up and running again. If all is okay in January, then we'll move you on, because I think they're actually going to keep Ben Davis. So I think he will be the absolute last resort. Joel Matip's made of glass. So he's another one that you can't rely on, much like Keita in a way, but I do have more hope for Keita than Joel Matip. So I would keep Nat Phillips until January, and if you can get 10-15 million for him in January, move him on then.
All right, cool. I'm going to come to you on this one as well, because this is something which is stirring up a bit of controversy. SS is in the comments saying the same as you, Ben. Keep till January. Statman Stubbs, keep Phillips, is in the comments as well. Oh, what's your thoughts? And I will give my opinion on this one.
Sell him now. Ben does make a very good point, but I've always been, just take as much as we can from him now. He's not gonna. You're telling someone who had a great season for us, and you're gonna tell him to basically sit bench, be fit 4th, 5th choice. I just think it's unfair to sell him, move him on now. I do understand why we'll keep him. Don't get me wrong, but I'm all about getting as much money as we can from him now, and then try and reinvest.
I agree with you. I'm of the opinion strike while the iron's hot, only because what we don't want to do is, he's had a breakout season. We never ever thought that Nat Phillips will play the level of games that he's played and be as good as he's been. If we've got clubs which are sniffing around him, take the money and run. We've got Ibrahima Konate. We've got the glass man, Matip. I know he's probably liable to pull up with an injury within 3 minutes of football, but he's still a body. We've got Virgil van Dijk. We've got Gomez. We've got hollow man Ben Davies. We've got Reece Williams, which is at the club as well. So we're almost gone in reverse where we never had any flaming centre-backs to be in centre-back heavy. I think that for the kid's career and for the boy's career as well, let him go. Let him go and play football. And I do subscribe a little bit to what you were saying, Ben, in regards to having that cover because of the backup brigade in terms of Ben Davies, Reece Williams. And you know what, hell, I'm gonna put Matip in that scenario as well, yeah? Of those backup defenders, he's probably the best available of those backup defenders in terms of his availability. So yeah, it would lead me to believe, do you know what? Keep him till January. It's risk-free. But at the same time, we're in a position where we need to sell to buy. If we keep Nat Phillips and that stops us from signing that midfielder that we want, or it stops us from signing that striker that we want, the whole fan base is going to go absolutely nuts in that respect as well. Massive comment here as well from Delwyn Jones. Nat will leave, but I think Klopp wants him to stay. Ox keep, Naby keep, Taki keep, Origi sell, Shaq will leave, Nico may go on a season loan. Davies, I have a feeling that we could sell him for around 5 million this summer. Delwyn, you make some really, really interesting points there as well. On the Nico Williams scenario, I think that he needs to leave, whether it be on loan or whether it be permanent. Ben Davies, I think, will stay as well. Left-footed centre-back is an absolute premium. He's a left-footed centre-back. There are not many of those around. So if you've got one at your club, whether it be Championship ability or Premier League ability, you want to keep that kind of player around. And Ben Davies has had a challenging sort of time at the club. Coming in, he was injured, got fit, thought he'd make an appearance, got re-injured again as well. It's just not really gone as seamless for him as it potentially could. SS as well. Window shuts in 4 weeks tonight. Hopefully start to see some movement. I agree with you, SS, and that looks like a great place to close. So, gentlemen, before we close and we wrap up, Ben, where can the viewers and the listeners find you?
They can find me, obviously, on the Redmen TV YouTube channel, the redmentv.com. But it would mean the world to me if people follow me on TikTok. So I'm kind of trying to grow that at the moment. I'm talking football. I'm putting random stuff out there as well. I'm at Ben Kelly 101 on there.
Good. You heard it here first. Head over to the TikTok and follow Ben Kelly 101 at TikTok. While you're there as well, Red Sea Podcast is on Twitter, also on TikTok also. So give us a follow too. Oh, where can the people find you, my man?
Well, it ain't TikTok, and it will be soon after talking to you guys. Just SIL London O, or the team, which is Scousers in LDN on Twitter and Scousers in London on Instagram and YouTube.
Totally. I appreciate you coming over, guys. I really, really do. Guys, before you head out of the door, please, please, please hit that like and subscribe button. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys in the comments. Guys, we're on the way to 150 subscribers. Hopefully, by the time we log off, we will be at the 150 mark. The target before we start the season is 175. So please help and get your input in getting us there. We've got lots of stuff coming up as well on the show, and we're really, really looking forward to the start of the season. Please head over to LFC Day Trippers after the game on Sunday. We'll be doing the match reaction for LFC Day Trippers. And again, on Monday, we'll be doing match reactions, myself and SS for LFC Day Trippers, now and right the way through to the end of the season. As I mentioned, lots of content coming on the Red Sea Podcast. You can catch us on all our socials at the Red Sea Podcast. If you've got a social media thing that you use, just whack the Red Sea Podcast in on there. I'm sure you will find us. But guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you for joining me today. We're looking forward to getting both of you back. Ben, when you're free, we'll get you back as well. Oh, when you're free, we'll get you back as well. Oh, like, I want to get some of the rest of the gang on as well. So get those guys involved. Like, I really, really want to see these guys on the pod as well.
100%, man.
Yeah, definitely.
100%. We'll sort something out. They're all ready to go.
Definitely. And Ben, like, we're looking forward as the Red Sea podcast to doing more link ups with you guys at Redmen TV. We've been on a couple of times now, and we're really excited to come back and do some content with you guys as well. SS in the comments sends his regards as well. Well done, guys. I'll be back soon. SS, we're looking forward to having you back, pal. I do feel a little bit lonely without my Cody next to me. I haven't got someone to take the piss out of for 60 minutes, to be fair. Normally, SS comes on in his choice Liverpool shirt with socks and shorts because, yes, SS is a full kit wanker. But we love you all the same, SS. It's good to see you in the comments, and get well soon, my man. But, guys, thank you for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Like I said, before you leave, hit that like and subscribe button. It will be greatly appreciated. But thank you and good evening. Bye for now.